Welcome to PestBusters using Clickteam Fusion 2.5. So let's open up our software. Let us open a new window. And we will save our application as PestBusters. File, save, go find your location where you have your game design folder. Go to Project 5 and call it PestBusters. As you notice, this is called PestBusters right here in the application. So now what we're going to do is we're going to rename Frame 1 Two-Player Game. And now we're going to open up our thumbnail. Just double click. Now we're going to open up our library for our PestBusters. So I right click underneath the library toolbar here. If yours is not pinned and it looks like this, all you have to do is hover, come over to the little pin over here and keep it open. Okay? So now right click somewhere in this little square and click New. Now navigate to where you have saved your game design folder. Mine is on my desktop. So I come down to my game design folder and I open up Project 5. And there's my PestBuster library. So I click OK. So I'm going to name my new library PestBuster Library. Now I double click PestBuster Library to open it. And I can double click this little red line here, this little red dot. And here are all my objects for my PestBuster game. Now I have my Layers toolbar open. Let me close it. And I'm going to show you how to open up your Layers toolbar. If I go to View, Toolbars, I have a Layers toolbar available to me. We're going to need the Layers toolbar in this game. So click it open. View, Toolbars, Layers toolbars. Okay, now same thing with this. If you have it on auto hide, it may sit in the corner like this. How do you get it to stay open? Once again, hover, then click on the little pin. Okay, and that should keep it open. So now I need 3 layers. So I'm going to click on the new layer toolbar here, the new layer. So these are named in the order of creation. Okay, and I'm going to have 3 layers here to create the illusion of movement. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to have layer 1 here, which is furthest away from the user. It's going to refresh at 2 frames per second. This layer here, which is closer to the player, this is going to move faster. This is going to create what we call the Parallax Perspective, which means that something in the background further away from the user is going to move slower than something close up. All you have to do is observe traffic when next time you're in the car with somebody and take a look how things closer to you appear to be moving faster than things far away. The mountain in the distance moves very slowly, but the traffic right next to you moves very fast. So we're creating that illusion by moving our backgrounds. Now here in layer 3, nothing's going to move at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this up right now for movement. Okay, now I'm going to click on Player 2 Game here, and I should see 3 options here. Okay, so if I see my 3 options here, I know I'm in the player game frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the virtual width to -1. What this will do is, this will make the scrolling effect. Okay, you set it at -1 so it continually scrolls. Okay, that's just the way it works. Okay, now I'm going to come over here to layer 1. Layer 1, if I'm moving left to right, I'm going to be changing the x-axis. So I'm going to be changing the x coefficient. Alright? You remember in math class, your y went up and down, your x went left to right. That's why we're changing our x coefficient, because we're moving left to right. Then we're going to change this to 2. And I'm going to click on my frame here. Next, I'm going to go to layer 2. Layer 2, I'm also going to change the x coefficient, and this is going to be changed from 1 to 9. So I'm going to click out here. I know I'm going to go to layer 3. Now layer 3 is not going to move at all. So I'm going to check the x coefficient, and I'm going to click 0. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the horizontal wrap. Layer 3 does not move. So there's not going to be anything wrapping here. Layer 2, we're moving left to right, so we're wrapping horizontally, so click there. And layer 3, we are also wrapping horizontally, so we click there. No horizontal wrap on 3, okay? Just on 1 and 2. So let's move our cave backdrop to layer 1. That's what goes on layer 1. So I drag my cave background on stage, and I right click, align in frame, left. I right click, align in frame, top. So now I right click and lock. Okay, so my layer 1 is taken care of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock it in place. So now I'm going to go on layer 2. Layer 2 is going to take the top and bottom rocks. So I'm going to come down here and grab my top rocks, and I'm going to put them at the top of the screen. Okay, so I'm going to right click. I'm going to align in frame, top. Right click, align in frame, left. I'm going to right click, lock. Next I go to the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to put the bottom rocks here. So I just drag them up, and I right click, align in frame, bottom. Left click, align in frame, left. Then left click, lock. Okay? So layer 2 is done. So I can lock it. Now what these eyes do is these eyes can hide what's on the layer. A lot of times when you're working with something, you want to hide these layers. We don't need to do it in this class, but I just want to show you what the effect is. If I click on the eye, you can't see the background. If I click on this eye, you can't see the cave rocks. Okay, that's what the eye does. It helps you work on a layer without seeing everything on the layer. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the top. I'm on layer 3 now. I'm done with layers 1 and 2. So I'm on layer 3, the layer that does not move. And I'm going to come on up and I'm going to find ship number 1. So I put ship number 1 right below the rocks. And I'm going to put a movement on ship 1. I click on ship 1, come over here to the movement icon, the running man. And I click on the static, the stop sign, okay? And I'm going to choose a non-physical movement up here, and I'm going to choose 8 directions. So what I want him to do is to move only up and down. So I click on the star here that says 0, 4, 8, 12, etc. And I click on that. I erase everything. That's that dotted circle. Click on the dotted circle. I click up and I click on the down. Okay? So now ship 1 moves up and down. It's going to use the arrow keys. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come on down and we're going to put ship 2 up. We'll put ship 2 right here. So I grab ship 2 and I put them up here right above the lower rocks. Now ship 2 is going to have to do the same thing. I come over, make sure movement is selected, the running man. Then I click the stop sign, the static. And I come up once again to non-physical movements and I choose 8 directions. Okay, so I go to directions and I click the star. And we erase everything here. Just click the dotted circle. And we're going up and down. Now click over here. Now another thing we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to put W and S keys to control this ship here, ship 2. So I can come up to PestBusters, the PestBusters up top here, okay? And I'm going to come down to Properties and I'm going to go to Runtime Options. This is the 3rd icon in. Looks kind of like a red arrow. So I take the scroll bar all the way down to the bottom. I find Default Controls. It has an Edit button. I click the Edit button. So now I want to put a different movement on player 2. So I click the X underneath player 2. Now I want to change the up key from the up arrow to the W. So I click up and I click W on my keyboard. So that changes this to W. I'm going to change the down to S. So I click on the down key and I click S on my keyboard. And I click OK. So now, just like we did in the ping game, the player 1 and player 2 had moved with different keys. Player 2 is going to move with the W and S key. So we've got this all set up now. So we're still in layer 3. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add some bases. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to just put 5 bases along the edge here, along the left edge. I just drag them up, try and space them out so they're all equal distance from each other. There we go. And now since they're all duplicated copies, they're not clones. You don't see 5 red marks up here, you just see 1. So you know they're duplicated. But what I need to do is I need to make my ships, my bases, invisible. So I make sure a base is highlighted, and what's done with one will happen to all of them. So I go over here, make sure that I've got this first display option checked. I take away the check mark in visible at start. That's going to make my bases invisible to the player. Okay. So I'm going to use these bases to shoot out the pest and to shoot out the bonuses. So I'm going to drag the pest object off here to the side in the gray area, okay? Because I'm going to have the base launching the pest object here, okay? And I want player 1 and player 2 to have bullets. This yellow bullet here is for player 1. Now you're still, everything here is going on layer 3. Make sure you're not in another layer. I'm going to drag up the yellow bullet for player 1 and the blue bullet for player 2. If you don't give player 2 his own bullet, he's going to be shooting sections of the cave. You don't want that to happen. Okay? So we give them bullets to shoot. Now the pest is going to be shooting at us. He's going to be shooting poison at us. Okay, now we're going to go into our event editor. I'm going to go View, Event Editor. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a condition that scrolls all the time. So I'm going to click New Condition. I'm going to click on the gears. And I'm going to choose Always. Next I'm going to come under Storyboard Controls here, my third option. I'm going to right click. And I'm going to come all the way down to Scrollings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center horizontal position of window and frame. We're moving horizontally, so you want to center the window horizontally. Okay? So now how are we doing this? First off, we want to capture where the screen is right this second on the left. We're finding center, but in order to do that, we need to find where the frame is on the left. So I'm going to click here, Storyboard Controls. I'm going to find the frame, and I'm going to find the X coordinate of the right visible edge. So I'm going to add to that what's the center. Okay, so we know that a screen from side to side, our screen is 640 pixels. Half of 640 is 320. Okay, and we just want to push it 1 pixel to the right every time it refreshes. So we're going to add to the X right frame 321. So we're just moving it 1 pixel at a time. So we're going to add 321. Okay, so we're taking where the right frame is, right here, the edge of the right frame, and we're going to add 320 pixels, taking it to the center. Okay, at every point in time when we refresh, we want to know what the center is, +1. Okay, so that should give us a scrolling option. Okay, so to see if we did everything right, let's run the application. There we go. And you notice that both my players moved on the arrow key. So I still need to go back and fix that. But right now let's work on the event editor here. Okay, the first thing we want to do is when the ships go up and down, we want them to bounce off the top and bottom. Okay, so we're going to create the new condition. We have ship 1, position, test position of ship 1. Is ship 1 trying to go out the top or out the bottom? Is he trying to do that? Click OK. If he leaves the play area in the top or the bottom, we want ship 1 to bounce. So right click, movement, bounce. So let's do the same thing with ship 2. Click new condition, click ship 2. Position. We're going to test the position of ship 2. Is he trying to go out the top or out the bottom? If he's trying to do one of those, we want ship 2 to bounce. So right click, movement, bounce. Okay, so we've taken care of the ships. Alright, now let's shoot the enemy. Now that we're going to have a timer condition. every second we want a base at random to shoot out a new pest. So I click a condition here, and I want to choose a timer because I want it to happen once every second. So I click every second. Okay, and once a second. What are we going to do once a second? So I right click right on top of once a second, and I click insert. So what am I inserting? A base at random. This base is going to shoot the pests. So I click this, then I go down to pick or count. I'm going to pick a base at random. So a base is going to shoot out one of these fellas once every second. So I'm going to right click the ship, launch an object. The ship's going to launch an object. He's going to launch a pest. So I click OK. So the speed of the object, 100 is very fast. So let's wind that down to 50. We're going to launch it in selected directions. I'm going to erase everything, and I'm going to click 16. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to click OK again. I mean, one of these, every half second, we want one of these pests to launch a poison pellet. So I'm going to click New Condition, and I'm going to click the timer, and I click Every. So a half second, I'm going to put a 0 in seconds, and I'm going to put 50 for 50 1/100ths of a second. And I'm going to click OK. So every half second, what's happening? We're going to pick a pest at random. So I'm going to insert, click on the pest, pick or count, pick pest at random. So randomly a pest is going to launch a poison object. So I right click under the pest, I click launch an object, and I click a poison pellet. Okay? I click OK. So now we want the poison pellet to go at 75. And we're going to launch it at selected directions. We're going to erase everything, and we're going to shoot it right at the player. So I'm going to click OK. And click OK again. Alright, so now we've got the pests coming at us, and they're launching poisons. So let's make it where the ships can shoot. So ship 1 is going to use the space bar. So I'm going to click a new condition here. I'm going to click the keyboard upon pressing a key. So I'm going to click the space bar. So when I click the space bar, I want ship 1 to launch a bullet. So I right click under ship 1, launch an object. So ship 1 is going to launch a bullet. We're going to click OK. We're going to leave it at 100, and we're going to launch it in the specific direction. I'm going to erase everything, and I'm going to click 0. I want to launch it straight at the pest, straight at the poison. Okay? So I click OK again. So that's player 1. Alright, so now we're going to have ship 2 that's going to launch a new object here. How about the shift key? So I'm going to do new condition, click on the keyboard upon pressing a key, and I click the shift key. So upon pressing the shift key, what do we want to happen? We want ship 2, we're going to right click, launch an object. So he's going to click bullet 2. Ship 2 gets bullet 2, ship 1 gets bullet 1. Very important, okay? So I click OK. So I will launch it in selected directions. I'm going to erase everything and shoot right ahead. So I click on the 0, I click OK. And I click OK again. So his is 100 as well. I'm going to go back into my frame editor, so I can double click on 2-player game. And now I'm going to go back and fix what I didn't do before. I'm going to click on Spaceship 2. I'm going to click on the running man, and I'm going to change it to player 2. I should have done that. I forgot. I apologize. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to give player 1 and player 2 lives object. So I'm going to click Insert. I'm going to click Insert, New Object. Then I'm going to click Games on the left, and I'm going to click Lives. So I'm going to click over here. So there's the lives for player 1. So I'm going to come on down and get lives for player 2. So I'm going to go Insert, New Object, click Lives again, click OK, and put it for player 2. So now I'm going to identify this with player 2, so I go to the check mark here, and where it says player 1, I choose player 2. Okay, so now player 2's lives are associated with him. Now they're both going to share a score because they're a team. So I'm going to go Insert, New Object, and I'm going to put a score object up there. Doesn't matter who's going to hit a pest. You're going to have one score to keep track of this. Now I can change color here, so I'm going to change the numbers to text. Then I'm going to come up here to the A, and I'm going to come on down to color and give this a new color. Then I'm going to come back up and click on Tahoma, and I'm going to change the font. So I find a font I want. I'll choose Gouty Stout, and I'll just, this is the size, I think I'll bump it up just a little bit and click OK. So there's the score. Okay? Now there's one other thing that the ship is going to shoot. Ship is going to shoot bonus points. So we're going to bring up the bonus points now. Okay? So we're all ready to go back into the event editor. We got lives, we got a score, and we've got the bonus object. And one thing before we go, we want to make sure that none of these, we want to make sure before we go that we don't run out of bullets, and that the enemy does not run out of poison pellets, and that we don't run out of hearts. So let me click on bullet 1. So I come over here to the runtime options on bullet 1, and I come on down, and I have this option inactivate if too far. No, I don't want to run out of bullets. I go no. Okay? Now I click on bullet 2. Same thing. I click on runtime options, come on down, inactivate if too far. No. Okay? Now I click on the poison pellet. Same thing. Come on down. Inactivate if too far? No. And then the heart. We don't want to run out of bonus points, do you? Inactivate if too far? No. Okay? So now we're not going to run out of bullets or lives or bonus points. Well, we will run out of lives eventually, but we're not going to run out of bonus points. So let's go back into our event editor. View, event editor. So now we've got the player shooting bullets, the pest shooting poison, but nothing's happening. So let's cause some damage. Okay, so let's say player 1, collision, another object. Player 1 runs into the pest. What do you want to happen? Player 1 runs into a pest. Player 1 loses a life. So right click, number of lives, subtract from number of lives, 1. Okay? So let's make a collision between player 2 and the pest. Right click, player 2, collision, another object. Player 2 runs into the pest. So now player 2 is going to lose a life. Right click, number of lives, subtract from number of lives, 1. So now the same thing's going to happen if they run into a poison pellet. New condition. The ship, collision, another object. Player runs into the poison pellet. Okay? So player 1 loses a life. Number of lives, subtract from number of lives, 1. Same thing with player 2. Right click, player 2, ship 2, collision, another object, the poison pellet. Okay? Right click, number of lives, subtract from number of lives, 1. Let's scroll on down here. We got some more things to do. Okay, now let's put some damage on the pest. Okay? New condition, pest, collision, another object. Player 1, the pest runs into a bullet. The pest is destroyed. Right click, destroy. And player 1 gets a point. Right click, score, add to score, 1. Now we only have one score object for player 1. That's on purpose. They're a team. Doesn't matter who gets the point, they're added together. So we're going to right click the pest, collisions, another object, bullet 2. Same thing. Right click, destroy. And we're also going to score, add to score, 1. Okay? So now we've got things happening where players are losing lives and pests are being destroyed. Okay, one thing that's peculiar with scrolling is that if a pest scrolls off on the left, he'll be coming back around on the right. We don't want that to happen. So when the pest leaves the left edge of the screen, we're going to kill the pest so he doesn't recycle. We don't want to recycle him. So we're going to, that's just a scrolling thing, okay? So we're going to make a new condition where the pest, position, test position of the pest. Is he going out on the left? So if he leaves the play area on the left, we're destroying the pest. Right click, destroy. Same thing with the poison. Right click, poison, position, test position of poison. Is it trying to go out on the left? If that's the case, we're going to destroy the poison. Right click, destroy. Okay? Lots of conditions here, aren't there? So what happens if player 1 runs out of lives? New condition. Check joystick 1 here. When compared to player's number of lives. If it's 0, what happens? Number of lives is equal to 0. We destroy ship 1. So we have a new condition. We test with player 2. Compare to player's number of lives. Is it 0? If it's 0, ship 2 is destroyed. We still haven't launched the bonus object. So we have a new condition. And we're going to have the timer every 7 seconds. So put 7 here. Click OK. So we're going to choose a base at random. So right click, insert. We have the base here. Okay, pick or count. Pick base at random. So what is a base at random going to do? It's going to shoot out a bonus. So right click, launch an object, come down and get a bonus. So we're going to launch in selected directions. We're going to shoot it at 16. Click OK, and we're going to take that down to 75. Okay? If both players run out of lives, we go to the next frame, which we haven't made yet, but that's the end frame. So new condition. So we're doing player 1, when number of lives reaches 0. We're going to right click insert. Player 2, when number of lives reaches 0. So when both these conditions take place, where both players have run out of lives, we're going to send them to the end frame. So we're going to go next frame. Right click under the storyboard options, next frame. Okay? So we do click the save button. And now we're going to come on out. We're test our game, see if everything's running right. So run application. Okay, I made a mistake. I didn't have this under the base. I had it under the ship too. So let's run this application. Run application. So, yep, we started seeing our enemies coming after us. So now we've got the two-player game to work, and we don't have an end frame yet, but let's go into back up here to the PestBusters in the storyboard editor. What we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of frames. Go insert new frame, insert new frame, and then I'm going to clone my player 2 game. Now watch this. Right click, player 2 game, clone. So I'm going to move one of my frames on top of this to push it down. So I'm going to put my start frame up here. I'm going to rename this start. I'm going to rename my first two-player game to one-player game. And I'm going to rename my end frame here. I'm going to rename that end for frame, this last one, end. So I've got start, one-player game, two-player game, and end. So let's go into our one-player game and fix this. So we only have one player. So what I do is I remove my second ship. I just click it and click delete my keyboard. You'll get a message. You say yes. I'm going to delete the second player lives. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to delete the second player bullet, the blue bullet. Let's go click delete. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my event editor. There should be very little to remove now. Go view, event editor. So okay, there's no player 2 to use this, so I'm going to delete this. I come over here to 6, right click, delete. So now I come down. There's no player 2 anymore, so I right click this on line 12 and I delete line 12. Just delete the entire thing. I'm also going to delete line 13 because I don't have two players anymore either. And I'm going to change this when the number of lives equals 0. Did I accidentally delete a condition here? Okay, when the player runs into the bonus here, he should get a life. So I'm going to new condition, ship, collision, another object. When he collides with the bonus, he's going to get a life. So I'm going to right click here, number of lives, add to number of lives, 1. Okay, we'll probably have to change that on the other one too. So that's a good thing. So now we got a player 1 game. Double check our player 2 game. Make sure we have we didn't give the player a life when he ran into a bonus. So let's do that. Let's have player 1 when he runs into collision another object, when he runs into a heart, he's going to get a life. So I right click under player 1, number of lives, add to number of lives, 1. Okay, same thing with number 2. Right click, player 2. Ship 2, collision, another object. He runs into the bonus. He's going to get a life. So right click, number of lives, add to number of lives, 1. There we go. So now we just need to do our start and end screens and we're done. So I come up here to start screen and I'm going to pull up my PestBuster library here. And now I'm going to change my color here so I can change my color to whatever I'd like. So I'm going to put up here black. Okay. Now I'm going to bring up the PestBusters title. And I'm going to bring up the player 1, the player 2, and the instructions. Okay. Alright, so I'm not particularly fond of pink. I'm going to change this. So I'm going to double click PestBusters title. I'm going to take the pail. I'm going to pour into a color I like better. I think I'm going to do red. So I'm going to pour it in there and click OK. So now I'm going to change the color of the button. So I double click my button and I pour the red color in there and click OK. I do the same thing for player 2. I pour the color in there. Okay? So now I'm okay with everything else. So now let's make this work. I want to, when I click on player 1, I want it to go to this player 1 game. When I click on this one, I want it to go to the player 2 game. So I'm going to go Event Editor, View, Event Editor, New Condition. Okay, when you click on the mouse, and the user clicks on an object, he clicks on OK. Single click left button's fine. He clicks on player 1. We want him to go to the player 1 game. So I right click under this and I just go next frame for the player 1 game. So let's do the player 2 game. Right click, the mouse. User clicks on an object. He left click, left button, single click, yes. Clicks on number 2, go OK. So now we're going to navigate, jump to frame, player 2 game, click OK. So let's make sure that we're going to the end frame when the player ends this one in player 1 game. So let's click here. We're going to go to the event editor, go view event editor. So when number of lives equal to 0, we don't want the ship to be destroyed. This to delete that. We want him to go to the end frame. So I right click here, going to jump to frame, and we're going to go all the way to the end frame here. Okay, so if we lose a 1-player game, we're going to go to the end frame. 2-player game, the next frame is the end frame, so we don't have to change anything there. But let's make the end frame. Okay. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to put the cave background here. And I'm going to put on here, insert, new object. I put my high score object up here. And I'm going to come over here to text options. I'm going to change my color. Nice yellow. I'm going to Tahoma. I'm going to make it nice and bold. How about snap? I'm going to bump it up to 14. That was pretty good. Click OK. So I click on it, bring out my sizing handles. Now you can go on the background here, you can put some instructions, or you can have a restart here if someone clicks the screen. You can do whatever you want. It's your game. But I think it's time to end this, and let's just run our game and see if everything's copacetic. So run, application, choose player 1 game. There we go. Come up and down. Alright. And that works. Let's do our player 2 game. File, new. Try player 2. Okay. Alright. So there you go. All set. Click save and turn it in for project 5.